An update on this mantel clock movement. The brand is Mauthe. Mauthe is the German brand, and it was not running. Everything did seem in good condition and nothing was damaged. This is the balance. I'll explain in a moment. This is the main spring barrel. And it was actually fully wound up, the main spring, and would still not run. The balance will just oscillate a couple of times and stop. And actually the problem, at least to this point, I did not put it back to check the full functioning of it, but I did got it to get unstuck, basically. And if you look on internet, you will find, mostly perhaps on YouTube, that most of the times the issue with not just this brand but all these movements from mantel clocks, and perhaps also with the alarm clocks, the smaller one, the bed clocks if you want, the problem is actually the mechanism, the pivots of many gears grip. So these are, if you look here, this is a pivot. There are many of them. Perhaps it's less visible on this side. They simply sometimes perhaps they have been oiled many decades ago, because these are very old. And at some point that, perhaps with some metal grit, very fine grit, that oil gets more viscous, it dries up, and the simple more extra little more friction but on all pivots adds up, and it simply blocks it from running. It's that basic. And it's at first I did watch actually videos, and everybody, those repair shops, saying that's the first thing you do. Basically what they do, which I did not do, I went more gentle if you want, they just get the whole movement, drop it in, and it's important to pick the right solvent. From what I understand, naphtha is the only one that's recommended. It's important because some solvents, I believe these are copper, not sure, or an alloy, some solvents will attack those small surfaces, and there is permanent damage. So they drop it in solvent, which dissolves obviously all oils, grease, and I'm not sure how they rinse it. They rinse it somehow, and it starts. So that's what the videos say, and I believe this was the issue with this thing. But I was surprised because, yes, I seen what the videos are saying, but in my mechanical mind I just could not understand why it wouldn't run, because everything did seem very clean actually. No rust, no wear, no play in the pivots, nothing. And still, what I did is that I got this, I don't have naphtha, and also I don't like really naphtha products because they smell very badly, and sometimes it's very difficult to rinse them off, and I don't know if they really dry properly. And I took alcohol isopropyl, this is rubbing alcohol from a drugstore, but 99%, maybe 95%. I'm not sure if I would recommend 95%, because the 5% remaining, it's water, and that may not dry properly. If the water stays there, I don't know if it would oxidate the surfaces of the shafts and get a bit of rust, so I would not risk it. That's why I did use 99%. What I did, basically, I just put tiny droplets on all movements. When I say all movements, you see these are pivots, I mean. These are very tiny pivots, and some of them are really hidden. I'm not sure if you see, there is one here, right there, my tip of finger. So I had to went through all of them. I did put 2 or 3 droplets, like put one round and come back again and put some more. Also, I did look inside, and I did put alcohol on the pivots that you see they join the case, but from inside this time. There are other places more specific, like this pivot where we put the hands. So you see this is a cylinder, so I put oil, alcohol on top of it. This gear also, it's very interesting because there's just the pivot is just attached to this face, so there is a cylinder as well. I had to leak oil, why I'm saying oil, alcohol. On the balance itself, I did not put yet. I'm yet to put that lubricant. What's going on in my head? Alcohol. It's not necessary to remove it from there, but what I also wanted to do is just free the drivetrain, the main drivetrain, from all tension. So that's why I took the barrel out. And this is a very, very big warning. I'm not sure how to really highlight in my videos the important things that I just want to warn you. I did make another video. We need to let down, to unwind the tension until there is no longer tension. You should never try to remove the barrel with tension on it, because it's going to, the moment it disengages from the nearby gear, it's going to slam and just bang free of tension, and that may damage the spring inside. So very, very careful. We need to, the way to call this is let down, unwind it, release all tension, and that must never be done with a regular key. And by the way, just before so I don't forget, I did use screwdrivers, flat screwdrivers. However, it takes very thin flat screwdrivers, because for some reason, this is another era here, those screws that I have to unscrew, some places they have a very thin slot. A Chinese screwdriver would fit, but it doesn't have enough force, so you may want to simply put pliers on the Chinese screwdrivers. Not easy, so just be aware it takes a very fine flat screwdriver. Anyhow, so I was saying, never, never, never do what I tried. I was full. Try to just, you will see videos when you have a click, stop piece, you release that piece and then it unwinds. So never try to unwind by holding the key, thinking you are going to rotate a bit the key with your right hand, then put the left hand, rotate some more, or maybe put back the stop. And don't try this, because it's going to hurt you. And it did hurt. It doesn't look like a lot, but I can tell you this middle finger was numb, completely numb for several hours. I was afraid the nerve was damaged or something, or broken bone, but I was lucky it did heal. But the tension in this is crazy, and it's strictly impossible to hold that key. So if you want just an advice, maybe use a vice grip, put the key on this, lock the top of the key, the whole top, right? Not just the corner, the whole top with the clamp vice, right? Clamp pliers, lock them strongly. You need to hold the movement because it's going to force to rotate, so you need to use something else to hold it, not your other hand if possible. And then with that long pliers, vice grip pliers, not regular pliers in any case, vice grip pliers, lock it strong, and then go slowly, hold it with both hands, change hands and so on. But I'm just saying this because we don't have tools to let down those powerful springs. So don't confuse this with other maybe an alarm clocks or so. This is really, really powerful, so I can tell you. Anyhow, that's another subject. I made another video. All this to say that I just wanted to remove this barrel and also the floating balance, that's the right name, so I can free the drivetrain. And when I did remove the spring and the balance, and I tried to rotate the first gear, the ones that touching the spring barrel, it did not move, and I did not see the escape well moving in there. That's how it was stuck. Even by hand I could not release it, get the thing to work. After I did put that alcohol at 2-3 steps, maybe just within, I don't know, 1 hour or so, I finally managed to, this is the big gear after the barrel, I finally managed to make the, I'm not sure if I can show you, I'm not sure it's really visible, but right now, let's try. I would get the fork move a bit. Yeah, and I would need to show you the escape well moving, but now it's moving. So I think that was the problem. It's not yet everything put back in place. A few more words, if you ever deal with this same movement, to remove this barrel, of course, I did let it down, and actually it doesn't unwind all the way because it has a Geneva stop mechanism. So basically what this small gear, whatever you call it, piece, there's two of them attached to the barrel. By the way, I don't recommend you try to open this thing. There is a video showing how to, but it's very, very nasty because even if you fully unwind it, you will need to play with this thing, and that's really, really not fun. And I have no idea actually how to do it safely. The spring still has tension in it, so just if you know what you are doing, then try to remove the spring from there to clean it, but otherwise don't touch it. Anyway, I was saying this is a Geneva stop, and maybe it doesn't show, but the way it works, it's an asymmetric piece if you look at the center one, and basically this gear prevents the spring from fully unwinding the last portion, and also from fully being wound up the top portion. So basically when you take a spring that has no tension in it and you start to wind it up, the first maybe few turns, 1-2 turns, the spring will have a lower than normal tension. It's normal, you just start unwinding. And also the very last turns, the spring will have a higher than normal tension. So basically that mechanism blocks the spring from reaching the lower end and the higher end, which makes the spring tension through the unwinding normal process, it makes it more uniform, the spring tension, which I guess it's increasing the accuracy of the clock. It's an interesting mechanism. Not all of them have this Geneva stop, and from what I understand, sometimes these gears are actually on the surfaces, on the plates. If that's the case, you cannot really remove it like this. This is actually still wound up for the lower portion if you want. It's not fully released the tension, but I could remove it because the Geneva stops are on the barrel itself. When this mechanism is on the plate, you cannot remove it from there until you fully unwind it. And I don't know how to do it because you will need to play with those Geneva stops things. Anyhow, this is not about, that's not the subject of the video. All this to say that to remove that thing from there, if you ever face the same situation with the exact same movement, I had to remove this black plate from underneath the hammers. It kind of let the hammers move forward down to make more space here, but also the middle hammer, I had to kind of toast this bar towards that side to free the middle hammer, because this one also I had to flip it like this, and normally this one stays behind the bar, not underneath it. This is the middle one, so I had also to kind of not bend it, but just push that bar and just flip this hammer like this, and only then I was able and to remove it, and still it was very, very tight here. I didn't bend those things, but it was a very, very tight fit to slip it out. Now for the balance part, if you ever want to remove it from there, there are two, where is it? There. So there are two front screws. I'm not sure where they are on this face. So you just remove those two screws. Careful, because they seem those holes kind of, they are not very they have a bit of play, so I'm not sure when you put it back in place, you need to perhaps make sure it's very level in those holes. And you don't have to remove those small nuts, just those two screws. And you need to check the spring so it doesn't touch on sides. You need to do a test. I'll link you perhaps a forum in the comment section to see if this thing is working fine. And also perhaps we need to clean. There is a cylinder inside here. I'll try to put alcohol inside to clean it because from what I understand, where the way to test this thing is to put it on level surface, and notice it's not really level if you just sit it like this. It's going to be flipped on the back of it, so you need to make sure it's level. Then gently by hand do, I believe I've heard the full turn, but I did just a half turn, and then let it go, and it should be spinning for over 1 minute. Mine was spinning for 1.5 minutes, half a turn. So try not to turn it more than half a turn, and also be very, very gentle when you touch it, when you rotate it. And by the way, this thing here has an adjustment. You notice there is a minus and a plus, and the way to adjust this, maybe I'll make a video. We have two weights. You notice the tiny cylinder there, and there is another one there. And the way this work, is basically they just is like a weight, just like if you consider a tire, a car well, it has weight to create an even balance all across. So that's how those two work. Now don't ask me how you actually position those things to have the perfect balance. I think the idea is have a swing which is equal on both sides, but how do you adjust them? Perhaps that's a completely different video subject. Anyhow, all this to say that I did remove this balance well just so I can basically, when I was pushing on the first gear here, the biggest one, I was just also with my other hand gently move the fork so I can free the escape well. And this is how I tested it for now running, but I still need to put the barrel on it and to have it run by the spring tension. Also, one of the problems I had with this movement is it's difficult to handle it. It's difficult to grab it. I think the professionists that fix these things, actually they have some sort of a mount. They put it on a mount. It's not exactly easy. Some people suggest to simply just create a mount exactly the way it's located, fixed on the actual clock. Basically just kind of, I don't know, a round piece of wood, and just basically screw all this attachment. But I'm not sure how easy it is to access the other components then. Anyhow, it's hard to handle it. It's heavy, less heavy when I did remove those spring barrels. I did also remove the barrels from the chim and from the strike, and it makes it lighter and easier to handle, but still I need to be careful with those hammers. I need to be careful not to, when you grab it, not to touch on the fork or worse on the balance well, so it's difficult to handle this thing. But that's how it goes. Right now I'm just going to put it back in place. Perhaps I'm going to also clean around here, put some alcohol. I'm not sure if I will put alcohol inside. It has to have some oil inside, so maybe sometimes you just want to refill it with alcohol and then dry it up and then put some fresh oil. That's another question. I will just clean around these contact points where it rotates. Basically these are kind of the pivots for the barrels, which take a lot of tension. Probably I'm going to put some grease on the pivots on both sides, obviously. And at the end, when I feel everything is running fine, I'm going to put oil on pivots. Not sure what oil I'm going to use for now, but it's better perhaps to use the quality oil, because oil does degrade over the years. There is no oil, from what I understand, on the gears itself, just on the pivots. no oil on those small mechanisms for the chim and strike. And well, we'll see how it goes from there, but hopefully you got some more ideas about this video, and how, if you ever have to deal with the same movement, how to work around, how to remove parts, and maybe what's wrong with it. Thanks for watching.